Welcome here. I'm Alessio Iacono, I'm a journalist. I deal with technology, innovation, new media, digital transformation. And today we are here to talk about a new way of distributing news. We are here to talk about EcoDot, about Alexa, about AI behind a new way of distributing news. And basically we're going to talk about radio, which answer your questions, as we were saying yesterday. With us there is Alex Amordeluso, who is lead evangelist for Alexa in Europe, and is going to explain us all the ways in which Alexa, the AI behind it, and EcoDot can be useful for journalists to distribute news and for people who want to get that news in their life. So we will have a short presentation, and then I will interact with questions, and you can too. It's going to be fast, interesting, so please.
Yes, great. Thank you very much. So good morning, everyone. Apologize for the delay. And presentation is not going to be necessarily fast or quick, so hopefully I'm not going to put you all to sleep. The fact you're here perhaps indicates that you have an interest for these technologies. I'll try to do my best just to make it entertaining and interesting for you. As announced, I work for Amazon, for Alexa, and I have the privilege of having a job where I have to describe, where I have to speak about Alexa constantly everywhere in Europe. And I'm originally from Italy, and this year is exactly the anniversary of my leaving the country. I've been for a number of years inside Italy, at exactly the same number of years outside of Italy. So happy to be here, as I mentioned. But let's talk about this, the main deal of the day, Alexa, Amazon Alexa. First, distinction, very important. Amazon Alexa is a cloud-based voice service. Echo is a family of devices that are Alexa-enabled, made by Amazon. So, talking about voice, why voice? Why is Amazon working with this technology? Why we have invested so much, so many years, so many thousands of hours of person hours of voice in voice science, of lots of engineering here, lots of invention, lots of innovation, because we believe that a voice is the next frontier in interaction between human and a machine. As some of you might not be familiar with this, I took the liberty of showing you, I'm about to show you a video. This is a little bit more commercial video, but don't take that personal. I'm not pitching you anything. I just wanted to make sure that we set the level for those of you that might not be familiar with this family of devices. So, drum roll.
Alexa, alarm off. Alexa, what's on the calendar today?
You have 12 events scheduled.
Alexa, call me an Uber.
Your Uber will arrive in 2 minutes.
Alexa, what's the weather like today?
There's a 100% chance of showers.
Alexa, pair my Bluetooth speaker.
Okay, paired.
Alexa, it's time to reorder some paper towels.
Okay, order placed.
And Alexa, play my garage music.
Playing your garage playlist from Prime Music.
Alexa, play some jazz.
Playing smooth jazz from Prime Music.
Alexa, who's this?
This is Picnic Basket by Lolitone.
Alexa, turn that up.
Alexa, ask Domino's to send me my last order.
Okay, order placed.
Hey, isn't that Jason Schwartzman?
No, that's not him. I would know if that was him.
I'm pretty sure it's him.
Okay, Alexa, who stars in Mozart in the Jungle?
Stars include Malcolm McDowell, Jason Schwartzman.
Ha! See? I was right.
Alexa, change the bedroom temperature to 65 degrees.
Okay.
Alexa, lights off.
Okay.
Alexa, good night.
Good night. Sleep tight.
looked like a perfect day.
Exactly. So from this point of view, for sure. So I showed you that because all of the people inside that video were actors except Alexa. So Alexa was simply playing herself. What did we see there? We saw a device that allows us to control our environment. You saw the blinds going up and down. You saw the thermostat. You saw things. You saw ways of conversing with our house to control our smart home devices, for example. You saw a source of information that is immediate, that uses voice to get information in and out. You saw reminders. You saw music playing, and so on. So this is what we're talking about here. And voice, because voice is natural. We don't have to think about using voice. That is the whole point. So we have to create, of course, I got something here. So we have to create experiences that are natural. This is the core of what we're talking about here. With regards of what is possible, or today, why there is this attention on voice, because this is an epochal change. This is one of those moments that occur approximately every, give or take, 10 years, where something arrives and changes everything. This is voice right now, the same way that internet changed our lives, the same way that a mobile revolution changed our life. Voice is here now. There's a whole generation of youth growing up today thinking that it's perfectly normal to talk with things and to get things done. So think about this: appliances, TVs, mobile devices, wearable computers, little blocks of plastic and metal like this. This is what's happening. This is inevitable. We are living the beginning of this new phase. Each one of these new phases, it's a set of opportunities. It's a set of opportunities to reach out customers, listeners, users in a whole different way. And customers are developing these expectations. So a brief overview of how things work behind Alexa. There is several modules. There is the first thing that we encounter, and I'll show you exactly what is the flow of information, how does it flow from a human being all the way down to the modules, the cloud-based modules that are composing Alexa. ASR, automatic speech recognition. This is what actually extracts the noise or the signal outside the noise. Then this payload, this message, is passed to natural language processing. This is what extracts the natural intent of what is being captured. Then there is a set of machine learning that uses constantly all of this information to get better at recognizing human beings, the way that we speak. Everything is powered by the cloud. All of this computing, all of this storage, virtually unlimited, that we do have in the cloud, makes this possible. And then, of course, this is all artificial intelligence based. Now, but think about the challenges that this poses. Human beings are great at disambiguation. We say one thing, we mean 50 different others. Some cultures more than others, but we are pretty good on the receiving end to communicate this way, because we understand. We use experiences, our history, facial expressions, nonverbal communication, and so on. Machines don't have that privilege. So think about something like the string, the phonetic string, like 4 miles. 4 miles may be a measure of distance, for example. Maybe something for somebody named Miles, or maybe 4 miles in this specific case, or maybe yet again 4 miles. Those are all the same. A machine will never know exactly by recognizing that specific string what actually we're meaning. Now, with that, we need to provide context. We need to provide. We need to teach. We need to provide a number of information. And in Amazon, we've been working on this for more than 5 years. We put 3 years ago, in November 2014, the first Echo in the hands of consumers in the US. But this is day one still. We're really yet far. There is a lot of work to be done that remains to be done to actually have a conversation that feels natural. But we're working on it. ASR accuracy is growing up, as we can see here, pretty dramatically, and this is made possible by all these advancements. Now, speaking more pragmatically, this is some of the places where we do have native languages for countries. So Alexa-enabled devices are both made by Amazon, but also made by a number of partners that we work with that are using the frameworks that I'll show you later a little bit to build devices that are Alexa-enabled. Let's say you have any device, any portable device, or non-portable device, think an appliance. As long as this thing has a speakerphone, a microphone, and a connection, it can get Alexa inside without having to reinvent the whole thing, right? So OEM manufacturer, think about that. Automotive companies can actually embed Alexa into their products to leverage that opportunity. And all the experiences, all the content that you will decide to form the base of the conversational experience that you will create will work on both Amazon-made and non-Amazon-made. Now, so speech recognition, accuracy, friction removal is absolutely paramount to a natural experience. And there are things that we will remember that we used to do with the mouse, with the keyboard, with a number of other medium in a very near future. And I wanted to show you here, funny, just to break a little bit the monotony of my own voice. I have a video here that some of you may recognize this. This is an 80s movie. It's a Star Trek series movie where there is a Star Trek folks that actually go back in time in the 80s and and they compare themselves with the technology that they have, that they're seeing in this 1980s America.
Computer, please. Computer? Computer. Hello, computer.
Just use the keyboard.
The keyboard.
So you got the idea, right? So this is what's happening here. This will be us. Right? So think about just now, when we were thinking, I haven't used a mouse in probably 5 years, or there is some of you that are evolving, we all are. And this is exactly what will happen for us. And of course, this is a funny one, but you get the point. Now, we're working a lot on this. I'm part of a large organization that works extensively to deliver more products, more features, more tools, just to share this possibility of creating voice experiences. I'm not going to read any of this because I've extracted some that I'm going to be talking to you about later on. But just you get the idea. So those of you that like numbers, that like to understand with some data the addressable market or why so many people are actually paying attention to this or tantalized by the opportunities to reach out listeners in a different way. So this is it's a big market. It's a big market because it represents basically all of us. All of us, we use voice, we use our ears, so we communicate with technology. Anything that makes this communication more natural and faster is very welcome. But let's go into the meat of this and how we expose these technologies, this possibility of creating these voice experiences to you. So let me see here. Green pointers, awesome. So this is what I'm going to be talking about now, Alexa Skills Kit. We called an Alexa skill something that is the voice equivalent of an app. The same way that you use your apps on your mobile devices of a number of ways, same way that the choice is yours of which apps to use, the choice is yours on the Alexa skills. I will concentrate mostly on the way that on the opportunities that you might have from a news point of view, from a news outlet point of view, from a media producer point of view, on how do you actually share this in a novel way with your listeners. But this is what I will be discussing more. So this is how you actually add the new experiences. Different types of skills. There is audio players, there is long form audio, there is flash briefing, super important. Flash briefings are little snippets of audio content between 2 and 5 seconds that you are going to be able to put to your listeners. Availability, we have a large catalog that users can choose this from. Think about the best analogy I found so far, perhaps influenced by the Perugia food. Think about a restaurant menu. So lots of little plates. This is exactly the same way. You pick and choose the one you want. You pick the order in which you want them. You can change your mind while you're using this technology, and then you use these snippets of content. And I'm going to be able to show you some of this. Let me try to defy the demo gods and try to see if I can have some real audio here. Let's see if this works. Guys, ready? Should be just able to switch, right? So, Alexa, give me my news. 10 to 1.
The demo god is not helping.
Please, can you do something? Do you have anything? Alexa, give me my news.
Here's your flash briefing. In Wall Street Journal Tech News Briefing.
This is Tech News Briefing from the Wall Street Journal.
Alexa, next.
In NPR News.
So what we're hearing here is my personal selection of news outlet. So these are my little tidbits of content
from
that I want
NPR
to
News
consume.
in Washington, I'm Giles Snyder.
This
the
is live
U.S. and
NPR
its
from the US.
allies have unleashed
Alexa,
airstrikes against...
next.
In BBC News from TuneIn.
And you get the idea, right? So, Alexa,
Hello.
stop. So the point is that here to provide, so these are flash briefings. These are something that very easily can be created as long as you have the source of information, and you do have the source of information. So these are streams of audio or little recorded snippets that you made available. You just have to point this skill, this voice app, remember, to the source of information, and Alexa will take care of the rest. You don't have to design the interaction model. You don't have to teach Alexa next, play, and so on. This is all embedded into this API that is called the Flash Briefing, the Content API. Very powerful way of sharing out information. But what about other ways? Let's say that you want to have a deeper content, that you want to have to make available to your listener a larger set, a larger amount of content. You can create what's called here a custom skill. As long as you have an API in the back, anything that can provide this information in a programmatic way can be made available. So think about this. You open up the Wall Street Journal skill. The Wall Street Journal skill via Alexa will ask you, what would you like to hear? The latest news, the market trend, the current market trend, or something else. And then you will navigate. Think about this. You will navigate around that experience to provide to share your content. Now, this is more details. There is a lot of skills type today. Could be relevant for the theme that we're talking about today, also video skills. There's a variation of the flash briefing that is a video flash briefing that makes available these little snippets of content in a video format, and not only audio, to those devices that are video enabled. Okay? So now let's talk about designing voice a little bit. So just to make sure that I rectify a common misconception, you don't start, with this technology, you don't start looking at technology. So hopefully that will resonate with you. You start designing the conversation. You just start from the people. BBC has done exactly that. So starting with the people, designing the conversation, this is something natural for human beings that has to be usable, that has to be immediate. And then the way you do it, you take a big piece of paper, sometimes a very big piece of paper, you design a conversation. You design all this ramification of the conversation, then you have two people playing that out. And then you make sure that that works and that flows. Because if it flows with two people, with two human beings, you have a chance. If it doesn't flow between two human beings, you can be sure it will not work between a person and a machine. So a couple of ideas there. Now, the skills, this may be a little bit too much details, but basically a user makes a request, a voice, you saw here when we were doing this thing with Alexa, that when I said Alexa, the lights come on, right? So the point is that there is a wake word detector on board that is something that listens for the keyword, only for one word, and every 300 milliseconds erases, and listens, erases, listens, erases, listens, erases. There is no streaming on the cloud until that light is on and that keyword has been captured. So once that keyword is captured, the streaming goes online, the message is then sent out, and then ASR and NLP, as I showed before, kicked in and understand. Now, this is what's happening here. Now, this, once we are able to extract this intent, this is sent via payload. It's a simple text payload called JSON back to your service. This is an API that then knows, okay, Max now wants that specific, I don't know, that specific market trend from the Wall Street Journal. And then the response is sent back, is sent to something called TTS, text to speech. This is basically what converts back to audio a string of text. And then this is sent back to the user, both in textual and then graphical response, if any. All of this in about half a second, because it has to be natural. I don't want to wait for a long time, otherwise I will go very easily and very quickly to do something else. Now, I changed a lot too. Now, some ideas on why you would want to build a skill, for example. Number of reasons. Being first to market in your specific segment, industry, vertical, and so on. There's a huge innovation play here, just to make innovation by association with this technology very within your reach. There is augmenting, for example, marketing campaigns. This is an example. Dunkirk, a movie from last year. The marketing campaign, part of the marketing campaign was to create a game, a voice experience, a very immersive, that brought the player inside that game, and then promoted the movie. Now, some of the takeaway from what we learned that customer expectations are always increasing. What is working today might not necessarily work in 6 months. So keep innovating, keep checking for feedback on what your customers are saying, the way that they're using your skill. We see here, storytelling. So this is pretty interesting. My kids love this mystery. Storytelling on these devices is pretty powerful. It's interactive, and it works pretty well. But you have to keep having fresh content. That is absolutely crucial. So let me see here. Thinking multimodal. So by multimodal, we mean devices that are voice first, under the paradigm of voice first, but they are also adding a screen to the device, because we figure out that some of the experiences are better, not only on voice, but as a consumption of the information in a graphical way is absolutely adding delight to it. Now, again, I want to show you, for those of you that might not be familiar with this, let me see, let me try again something on the fly. Oh yeah, it works. No, it doesn't.
Alexa, what movies are playing nearby?
Here are a few movies playing.
Okay, so, all right, so I'm definitely exaggerating here with the demigods, but the point is that I had.
Still, it's voice interaction.
It's voice interaction, exactly. So, and I think I'm way playing out my card here. So anyway, I had a short video, 30 seconds, that show this in action. The point is that you get information, you get little snippets of videos, you get content, you get lyrics. My kids, when I cook with my wife in our kitchen, we have one of these. Our kids come in, they ask for music, usually a very special kind of music. They see the lyrics and they sing, and we all sing together. It kind of sounds silly, but it's a family experience, and it's a new family experience. It's kind of normal for our house. Now, as I mentioned before, when you write these experiences, you have a voice interface first. This is an interaction model that you design, not even thinking about technology, and then you attach it back to your backend equivalent. A little deeper level of what we mean by this thing is possessing a life of its own, or maybe just my big fingers. So this is what we call an utterance. The whole thing is an utterance. Oh, come on. So the whole thing is an utterance. There is a wake word, there is a launching command, there is an invocation name, which will be your custom skill name. And then you will make that custom skill name, your invocation name, part of your campaign. This has to become your new hashtag. You promote your experience, your voice experience, the way that your users will be able to discover and to use this experience has to be crucially known. Otherwise, nobody will use it. Now, the other side of how we expose the Alexa technology to be able to embed it into products is the Alexa voice service. You see here, there's more than 50 form factors currently in existence. I mixed intentionally both Amazon-made devices and non-Amazon-made devices because the idea is one, providing Alexa voice service everywhere. The concept here is to be able to talk with an environment, with an ambient. So ambient computing is a beautiful description that renders exactly that idea. So you're able just to walk around an environment. You walk around your house in a specific room. You don't have to think about talking into a device. You talk normally. And the device, all the devices you have around in your ambient will pick up the communication. So this is what we're doing here by enabling all of these partners to create their own experiences. Some of the Alexa habits that we're seeing, Entertainment, consumption of entertainment is huge. Setting timers, asking for information, consuming music, and controlling smart home devices. And then we see that a lot of usage in the kitchen, a lot of usage in the living room. So this is, as I mentioned before, this is one way that we are getting closer to the ambient computing, something called echo-spatial perception. It's a possibility in walking around in an ambient with multiple echoes to interact with all of them, but only the closest one to you will answer back. So you just walk around, you forget really that you're talking into machines, but you're talking into a specific ambient. Now, this is one of the ways that we can connect or we make the possibility of connecting these devices to the Alexa voice service. Some examples that might give you some ideas on where you would want your listeners to consume your news from. Think about the cars, captive audience by definition. You're stuck in traffic, you would love to be anywhere else but there. And then you can be taken away. Right? So you can consume this news, you can consume these stories, these deep dives into a topic that is particular you didn't get yet, and you can consume it. So all of these parts. But at the same time, why would you not be given the possibility of consuming news in the morning from your fridge? I know some of you might think, what am I talking about here? But think about this. Why should you not give the opportunity to whomever chooses to have a cup of coffee in the morning and just consume the news in front of their fridge? Depends on the layout of their house, right? So this is the technology. This is where we're going. And this is now. This is real. It's not aspirational. This is something you can build and is being built today. Now, let's talk about news. So I wanted to share with you some of the best in breed, some of the good examples of what we have out there. We heard a couple of them earlier with the flash briefings, but we do have also morning routines. So a routine is something that I set up from a user point of view, from a customer point of view. I set it up and I said, Alexa, good morning. And then I can attach actions to that good morning that Alexa will perform on my behalf and that are relevant to me. You can, as you saw in the video, you can control your house, but you can also consume your flash briefing, for example. You can have podcasts, long-form audio, for example. You can provide the possibility of consuming those information. Or on-demand headlines. You have now the possibility to have on-demand and to be also notified. You can be notified by something happening in your world. And, or you can have stories, quizzes, or trivias, or games, gamification of the content, sharing and the content providing. So a couple of examples here. CNN, Washington Post, Wall Street Journal, NPR1. So these are custom skills. Remember, this is the other way. This is the way of that you decide how you want your listeners and your users or your readers to consume that information. You provide this interaction model, and these are great, very, very well done examples. They've had a lot of thought put into this definition of how the interaction model should take place. A couple of best practices. Use both the custom skills and the news briefing. You both have information that you want to consume, very short, but as I mentioned before, you have deeper needs. You have something that you want to have made available to your customers on their choices. Think about a radio. Radio as both news, but perhaps as also thousands or hundreds of thousands of hours of music or specific content or deep research or whatever you have that you can make available to your customers this way. Be fresh, so freshness of content is crucial in the consumption, obviously, and then you can promote your skill. Remember what I said before, invocation name, make that your new hashtag. So make your users already, your user space know that you have this new channel. Notification, so this is something that I'm not going to try out this again, but this is a real screenshot that I took earlier, about an hour ago. So you can now set up some of these skills to notify you of what's happening that is relevant for you. This is the Washington Post. So you set this up, you configure this to notify you, and a message will arrive here. So a light will turn green, and then you will be able to consume that information on time, right? So this is something that we opened up to developers to make sure that users are notified whenever something relevant to them happens. Voice profiles. If I ask Alexa, play my own music, or play my music, I want Alexa to know that I don't want to hear Frozen. I don't want to hear Despacito necessarily. I want to hear, that's what happens in my house, actually. Frozen is a big deal, and then a few others. But I want Alexa to know my own music, and that's what we call voice profiles. So Alexa, I don't know if you heard earlier, she say, Max, your news are, and so on, because she recognized my voice. Very important feature that allows you to go towards the personalization of the information. So you can have these profiles and you can leverage, you want to profile, I was talking earlier with somebody this morning, big thing, profiling, and to have the possibility of personalizing that information to make it even more relevant and engaging. Now, couple of points here. Ease of use, fast, natural. This is the whole point of what we're doing. But big debate had since I got here and even before. Does this mean that our mobile devices, our phones are going to disappear? I don't think so necessarily, right? Maybe, maybe not. But some things are still better done with the mobile, with the touch, with the vision, right? Some others are done different. So you got some examples here. Voice is immediate, it's faster, but it's not for everything. So you have to think about that in terms. Now, this is finally the famous picture that I promised you earlier. This is an actual shot of the BBC doing their job of creating the interaction model. Now, what are we seeing here? A couple of interesting points. There is no software developers in these pictures. These are editors, journalists, content creators. This is a wall. And this person, I think this was intentional actually. So she's representing Alexa, and she has a blue hat. This is their doing. We didn't do anything with this, so we just took it when we're just sharing it. But this is actually how they develop their skill. They're working out their conversation model between people, right? So this is the conversation model. This is how you start. And BBC skill is pretty solid. It's very well done. If you want to look into how to do things right, that's definitely should start from this one. Now, invocation name. So this is might be overkill, this level of details here, but if you choose it carefully, this is how your users will use your skill. So make your invocation name and your skill name the hashtag, and then allow for the way we talk. Think about this. Some of you may have been involved with the web development, the web UI design. Think about one label of a button that does something. Let's say go to the next page, to the next article, whatever. There is a one-to-one relationship between that button and its label. Go, action, go, label. Voice is the opposite. There is one go action, but I may say go, proceed, go now, please, forward, anything. So think in those terms. You have to account for the variations of the way that we talk. We use a lot of different words to mean the same thing. Now, this is the one breath test. This is pretty good, meaning that you don't want to overwhelm users. Keep it brief, keep it concise, keep it useful. Now, a couple of other best practices. So you can find a lot of these in the designs guide, but one important point here, and I'm approaching the end so that we can make it a little bit more interactive. Eyes expect uniformity, but ears expect variety. So build the random factor. If you have a vocal experience that you know for sure it's going to be exactly the same, that creates friction. Create surprise, create delight, create randomness. Even the simple things to start your skill, your experience by saying something different every time. One day is good morning, how are you doing? Or where were you left? Or how is your day going? Or whatever, right? But create a random effect, very simple technically to achieve, but that's definitely what creates delight. It feels like a new experience every time. Feels something a lot less scripted, okay? Now, some of the best practices that we have distilled here, drive people to making sure that they understand their options. And this becomes more important in certain cases, for example. We have a category of skills called kids skills. So these are skills created for 13 years old and younger that after we enable them with verifiable parent consent, become a family usable experience that we all share. There is games, there is my favorites, kids court. This is a judge to arbitrate kids fighting. Extremely useful, super useful in my family. 3 kids, 8, 6, and 4. I lose counts of how many fights a day they have. So this kids court is pretty awesome because there's Judge Lexi that takes care of this. This is not something Amazon created. This is something that was created by a third party, by a developer. In that case, that's a good example, besides the creativity of the idea, which is delightful in my opinion, but it's also very well done because it guides through questions, what expected answer needs to be uttered by kids. So you simply say, how do you plead? If I ask, how do you plead, even to my 80 years old, it's going to look at me like I have 2 heads. How do you plead? What does it mean? It means nothing. So that skill specify what the expected answer. Say, did you really do that? Yes or no. Right? Seems simple, but you guide that experience. So this is what that specific principle means. Then avoid too many options. Very good feedback from the European Broadcasting Union. I had a meeting a couple of months ago. There was one of the member of the union, Radio France, that they're going through a great design, a lot of experiences in there. They said something very, very applicable. Limit your choices to less than 4. Otherwise, you'll just remember the last one. So there's a lot of these best practices that we're sharing. There is a lot of this knowledge available online. Look for, and it's definitely there. There starts to be a lot of, a large amount of this information. And you can start from alexa.design.guide. So I should have actually clicked it a little sooner if you want to take a snapshot of that one. alexa.design/guide. Discovery enhancement, we're working constantly to reduce the friction, to make it more natural. If you have to say a long utterance, you're probably going to do it once, maybe twice if you're lucky, but then you're not going to do it again. You want to say, Alexa, give me my news. That's that sort of thing, that sort of naturality. And then, so reduce the friction, and we're doing that by enabling things vocally and so on. So reducing that difficulty of using. Now, a couple of other things that might be relevant for you. Monetization. So, monetization, I see somebody smiling in the back. I'm not going to name names, but there is a number of news outlets that are asking this question. They say, this sounds cool, this is innovating, sounds trendy, but how do I monetize this? And we heard, obviously. We started last year with something called Developers Rewards. So developers are anybody that creates Alexa skills. And we started this program, and we paid out money, tens of millions of dollars, worldwide. So a developer can be anywhere developing on the existing Alexa models. And we paid out this money to the developers of the most engaging skills in 8 categories. And now we're also starting, and we have something now in developers preview, will be general availability in 2018, 2 different models of monetization, subscription-based and on demand or on session. Subscription, that should be fairly self-explanatory. You have you provide premium content to your premium user upon a payment of a certain amount. The other side is that let's say you have you're presenting news. And then you make, you require payment to go, for example, for a deep dive or something, additional content. And that is done in context, in the moment that this content is presented to you. So a couple of examples there on how we open up monetization. But these programs are there. Now, storytelling for kids, as you can see, I'm pretty obsessed with kids. I have to. There is something called the Gadgets API. These are ways of attaching connected devices to Alexa-enabled devices. The first iterations of connected devices, of gadgets, is buttons. Think about, some of you may have played Trivial Pursuit, or Simon Says, this is called Simon Tap. This is the version. So the first one that taps, or the kids that taps faster, you can create new dimensions on taking storytelling to different interaction ways and directions. Now, And that was the last one, was that the gadget skills API is general availability. Kid skills, oh, this is it. Here it is, Kids Court. This is the arbitration. This is Judge Lexi. There is ways of creating stories. There is also, the BBC recently also created a fiction story, interactive story. This is a choose your own adventure. Pretty powerful, well made. It's called The Inspection Chamber. It's a sci-fi adventure, and it's pretty entertaining, and you can use it both in the US and the UK. Now, here I want to leave you with a couple of links for those of you that might be interested in getting into some examples, some snippets of code, and so on. And then I guess we'll, if I can advance to the next one. Yeah, I thank you very much. So this is the monologue part of this conversation. Let's see if we can have a couple of questions or so on.
We're almost at the end. You said almost everything, leaving without questions.
I talk a lot,
I have to. Let's pretend that I'm a journalist here right now. I'm fascinated by this, and I want to go back in my newsroom, and I want to pursue my colleagues that we need this. We need to do this. How difficult is to introduce this, the culture you need to work with this inside a newsroom which works in a traditional way? Do you have feedbacks on this?
So I'm not a professional journalist, so I'm not super privy of some of these considerations. But I think, in my opinion, what you have to think about is twofold. It's one side is the consumer angle, and one side is the professional angle. The consumer angle is that this is a new way of serving the information you've been writing. Somebody this morning made an interesting parallel between the way that you write for reading or the way you're writing for listening, so for broadcasting. So this is closer to that naturally. So writing for broadcasting, writing for the consumption via audio. So that's one consideration. And then of course you have the possibility of getting deeper in context. So you have this possibility. Let's say that I'm playing music and I want to know more about the music, the song, that trend, the author. Same thing for news.
Are there questions? Yeah, I see two. 3. There you go. You got the microphone down there.
Hi.
Please.
Hi, JJ Robinson from the Open Society Foundation's program on independent journalism. Just was interested in, there's some competition with these. There's Siri, there's Google Assistant. What is it that makes Alexa stand out, and where are you playing catch up? And secondly, if a newsroom is going to adopt this kind of model, does it need to be doing this for all 3 of these platforms?
Okay, so let me take the first question. So yeah, the first question, thank you first of all. I would say that we concentrate on giving options to customers. So what we concentrate, what we're customer obsessed, what our intention and our attention, our energies are all concentrated on making this product delightful and to reduce the friction of using it, to make it natural. Now, comparison with other vendors, it's not my place to make, let's say that. Now, the second part of what you said, again, that's an editorial option, but I would say, why not? Why would you not make this access, this reach to your customers, to your listeners, to your readers on all available voice assistants, right? I would say, why not?
There was another question down there. I mean, would you raise your hand again?
Well, somewhere around here.
Here.
Yep. Thank you. Gentleman here. Yep.
Thank you. I suppose you are going to collect a huge quantity of data from this kind of devices, and I want to know who's the owner of this data and what kind of responsibility you feel on yourself about this.
Thank you. Thank you for your question. This is a very important point. Actually,
inevitable question.
Inevitable question. That's great. I'll take it. So in Amazon, we give the choice to the consumer. Okay? The customer has the choice. In this specific case, there is no difference. So in the specific, the flow, as I mentioned before, when I say Alexa, she's listening. She's actually now going to stream whatever I say next to the cloud. and then she times out if I don't say anything that is relevant. Once this gets into the cloud, only at that time, then there is a processing of the information and so on. And when I want to speak with Alexa, I have to use a keyword. Only in that case, there is this streaming going upwards. So this is point one. Point two, anything that is captured, I will try again to anger the demigods, and I'll show you actually where this is stored. Every person, every customer of every Alexa customer has access to their own profile, and where all these utterances, all these phrases are visible. And you can delete one, you can delete some, you can delete them all. Now, we hope you keep it, because this is machine learning, right? So these are data sets that make Alexa better. So they make Alexa better in understanding human speech.
The more data you give, the better it works.
Exactly, that's the point. But the choice has to be yours. That's the way that we like. That's the way we programmed this, because it's the way that we thought there was the right way of doing.
I think that's the question, the greatest question of our times. How much do we want to give, and what do we get back, of course? I see another question there, but there was one here before. Yeah, please.
Oh, thanks. Hi, Matthias from Finnish YLE. Maybe to continue on the question here, do we as the skill provider get to see the data that people give through Alexa to our skills? Is there a feedback channel, is my question.
Yes, there is a feedback. Thank you for your question, Matthias. As I mentioned before, iteration and constant quality improvements are crucial to tailor the experience and to make sure that we understand where we're falling short in our design to handle human speech. And one way of doing that is that exactly by using this feedback. We recently revamped the editor with which you can create these interaction models by providing one tab that is called Measure. That Measure tab provides feedback in the way that your users, you will see adoption, some specific metrics. And we recently launched, 3 days ago, something called Intent History. So you have a way, as a developer of a skill with certain that passes a certain threshold of utilization, of course, to go to see anonymized 30 days history of all the utterances that have been uttered by your users. So that's a trove of information right there, because you see a level of confidence of which bucket actually was matched with the request. So yes, you do get a lot of feedback from a developer's point of view.
There was another question here somewhere, and here, you were first, sorry. Here, please. Lots of questions.
That's great.
So good morning, and
good morning to you.
Congratulations for your presentation.
Sure.
I'm Mafalda Avelar from Agência de Notícias from Portugal, Portuguese news agency. We are present in every single Portuguese-speaking countries. Having said that, you are only...
Put your microphone nearer. Thank you.
Having said that, you are just doing that for English, in English language, or also are you developing in different language? Since, for instance, in my case, I do also have kids. I assume they are, although they speak English better than I, but having said that, I assume that they are going to speak with Alexa in Portuguese. Perhaps also in Brazil or also in Africa, in so-called developing world also. This is my first question. The second one, and I'm speaking as a citizen and not only as a journalist, you already have the psychological impact of that, because sometimes we are afraid that our kids just speak with computers, and this has an impact on them. Now with Alexa, they are going to start speaking with a computer. You already studied the psychological impact of that, and this is my question. My second.
Interesting question.
Thank you.
So, do we have a couple of hours for this?
Yeah.
So let's start for the first
take
one.
them.
Then. I love this question. Thank you so much. So the first one actually just gave me the feedback that I wasn't clear in what I showed on a part, because Alexa is not only in English. So we have other languages. So in Europe, for example, we have German. And while I cannot, hopefully you understand that I cannot share roadmap information, that however, I want to make sure that it's clear, Alexa is not only in English. We have Alexa in Japanese. We have Alexa in German. So we have announced that we will be in France before the end of 2018. And
there's
so,
a roadmap. Anyway.
So there is a roadmap. I can't share the details of it, but it's not only in English. Okay, so that's part. Now, let's get to the second question. So I'm not sure I know how to handle that. What I can tell you is that...
handle that as a father.
As a father, thank you. That's where I was going, exactly. Because as a father, I have no problem. Actually, I like the fact that my kids, our kids, say please to Alexa. And I love that part because they don't say please to other human beings necessarily. But to Alexa, they feel, I don't know why exactly, but they say please most of the time. Now, they also, perhaps that's connected to the fact that they anthropomorphized Alexa from the moment they started using it 3 years ago. A little anecdote, I will be super brief. But when we introduced Alexa, the first time they saw it, wow, there were like silly jokes that they were asking all the time, frozen music over and over and over and over. And I was saying, Alexa, stop. Alexa, stop. Alexa, stop. After 30 minutes, my oldest son, Lapo, came to me and said, Dad, do you think she's okay? Who? So Alexa, you told her to stop. And I realized that
it wasn't polite, wasn't it?
No, I wasn't polite at all, first of all. And then he figured out that I was talking to Alexa the same way I tell them to stop. So there was like a match made right away. So I can only bring you that as my personal history and experience with my kids.
Yeah, I got kids too. I think that the sooner they learn how to interact with these new interfaces, the better it is. Because they can be in control of them better than we are, because we are older generation. We didn't grow up with them. They will. They can change. There was another question, was it?
I was about to ask what languages.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Spanish one, Catalan one.
Yep.
Any more questions? No. So that's it. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for being with us. Thank you.
Yeah. And yeah.